Okay.
Why schools deserve more funding. Children are the future, and believe it or not, they have been the future since humanity began. So why has it become the norm to neglect them by not giving them the attention, resources, and respect they deserve, by cutting the quality of their education off because it doesn't fit the budget? The purpose of this speech is to provide insight into some of the problems our children are facing in schools and what we can do to help rectify it. Today, I will be speaking about why school funding is steadily becoming a more prominent issue, and the effects it's having on our schools and school staff, and what we can do to fix this problem before it becomes even worse. Slide. Firstly, I'd like to talk about what causes low funding in certain schools and why underfunding happens in the first place. School funding is based on 3 branches of government: the state, local governments, and the federal government. However, the funding from state and local governments is dependent on taxes, those being state, property, and income taxes. This is an issue because different areas will naturally have different tax ranges. This causes schools in wealthier areas to receive more funding than low-income areas, causing a substantial difference in the amount of money going to individual schools. Howell and Miller, 1997. Rural areas might experience a difference in funding because of other reasons. For example, in Southern Oregon, because this is a farming community, children are taken out of class to attend these events, and thus those schools will receive less funding due to the fluctuating attendance numbers. This massive inequity within school funding can be seen as a form of classism, and to a certain extent, it can be seen as a race issue. Data concluded from the school year 2015 to 2016 showed that areas with predominantly colored people receive roughly $11,000 per student, while areas that feature predominantly white people receive about $14,000 per student. This causes an almost $23 billion gap between the two. NOF 2019. This leads to further social divides from a young age because kids will copy what they see from their peers and from their higher-ups. When they see their classmates and other kids being treated differently than them, they're likely to treat them the same way they see their higher-ups treating them. This affects all schools and all of our children because it leads to bullying, discrimination against others, and a severe decline in mental health. Now that I have touched on what causes low funding and the inequity it causes, I would like to talk about the consequences low funding has in schools. While low funding has several consequences, the effect it has on the mental health of students is one of the bigger issues that comes out of limited funding. Children that suffer mental health issues and disabilities tend to experience more failures than their peers at school, which schools that receive low funding are proven to be less capable of handling these students with the attention that they require. A lack of funding can be dangerous because it's been proven that there's a direct correlation between school violence and low funding. School violence is a result of many things, such as a lack of mental health resources, people not being educated on how to prevent school violence, and an unstable environment. School violence takes many shapes, but the most common are bullying, sexual assault, and school shootings. People who are exposed to violence are predisposed to being violent themselves, but I must stress the fact that people with mental health issues are no more predisposed to being violent than people who don't suffer from any mental ailments at all. DeAngelis 2022. These issues are preventable, but it does take a group effort to educate, nurture, and encourage positive behaviors with our students. Low funding in school has another prominent issue, and that would be the number of students not learning the materials they need to be successful in life. After the pandemic, students haven't been able to catch up with all the information they lost when we went into lockdown. Even budget cuts that were made in the 2007 recession and COVID-19 are still in the works and have no signs of rectifying themselves or being gotten rid of. In some instances, this has even resulted in pre-K schools being shut down, leaving less time for our children in schools to learn. American University 2020. These budget cuts are only furthering our children's lack of education, care and education, along with teachers leaving the profession to pursue other, more stable income jobs. Slide. Now you're not going to believe this, but one of the best solutions for this issue is by giving our schools and our students the funding they need and deserve to be successful in life. Funding can give our kids the resources they need to thrive, not only as they are now, but as adults in the future. Studies have shown that an increase in school funding will directly affect our students' test scores, graduation rates, and it does increase the amount of kids that go into college after they've graduated high school. La Fortune Herrera 2022. With school funding, we can send our kids to sports without having to pay a fortune for them. And we can focus on our students' mental health issues, which is at a worse place than ever. Along with school funding being risen, we can also start implementing more elective classes, such as metalworking, woodworking, trade classes, such as plumbing, electricity, and so many others. We can start providing more band, orchestra, choir students, and we can focus on letting our kids pursue the arts. And there are so many other opportunities that funding can provide for our students. To wrap things up, children deserve more funding than what they're receiving from our governments. And it's causing serious issues in our schools like school violence and a lack of education. Giving our schools the funding they need is not only important in the present, but the consequences our future generations could face present a much needed problem to be fixed. Our children are the future. When their education and needs aren't being met, it's going to cause problems, and it's causing problems now. School violence has never been worse, with school shootings going up every year. And it's up to us to make the difference our kids need if they're going to have thriving, successful lives. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
Perfect. 8 minutes, 35 seconds.
Very good.
Even with Jade.